I will get there. I will get there. Hi guys, it's Alison and we are back in my room. I know a lot of my recent videos have been quite all over the place and vloggy kind of style, but we are back for a nice sit down, hopefully educational video. So yeah, I've got my laptop with me so I don't make too many mistakes. And yeah, today's video is going to be about what is known as the attachment theory and sort of how it kind of links to BPD in a way. So in case you don't know, I have BPD. I was diagnosed almost a year ago. I got introduced to the attachment theory from when I was referred to the home treatment team in February. And I spoke to a psychiatric nurse and he sort of discussed that in the 1960s, there was, when younger siblings were born, the older siblings would be taken to this sort of residential nursery to stay there, so then the mother and the baby can spend time together and sort of recover from birth, obviously. So yeah, so these older siblings, I'm pretty sure as young children, they stayed in a residential nursery from, it could be anywhere between a few days to a few weeks, depending on how smoothly the birth went and if there's any complications with the baby or the mother. And then once the mum's okay and the baby's sort of settled into new life, they pick up their child from the nursery and go home. And there was sort of this theory that came about by a psychiatrist, and he noted that the child would get dropped off to the nursery and would be happy and fine with the nursery really settled in and all that stuff, but as soon as the parents or the primary caregiver would leave, then the child was distressed, and you know, the child was like, you know, where's mummy, where's daddy, where are my caregivers and such. And then a few weeks later the mum would come back, pick up her child, and the child would not go near her. The child would run away, be really angry, be crying, be scared. And it's sort of, the theory behind this is that the way you are treated and cared for in early stages of life, so up until like 5 years old, very like early stages when you're a baby and a toddler and you're growing up and you are fully dependent on a primary caregiver, based on how the relationship with that primary caregiver went in those early stages of life is how relationships will impact you and influence you in adulthood. So now for me, so how this relates to BPD is the mental health field and professionals within mental health, they believe that BPD is originated from how your relationship with your primary caregiver was in early childhood. Now, the most common examples for this would be neglect and abuse, but it's not always like that. The disorganized attachment and effect it has on the child is not always intentional by the primary caregivers. It's not always being neglected, because I look back at my childhood and I'm like, well, I wasn't neglected, so this is wrong. But then it mentions things like if someone in your family had a drug or alcohol problem, or if someone in your family had a health issue and they needed to be taken care of a lot. Anything where the child feels that they are losing or they feel rejected by their primary caregiver. And primary caregiver doesn't always mean your parents. It can be siblings, it can be a different family relative, it can be foster care, adoption, it can be anything. But in these sort of studies, it always mentions a mother and a father. But modern day says that you can be taken care of by people other than your parents. There's sort of many things that can create this disorganized attachment and essentially the betrayal in the child's eyes, because when you are a child in your very early stages of life and you're growing up, you have very basic needs and you have a very basic mindset. Your primary caregiver is there to feed you and comfort you and keep you alive, essentially. The child is hugely dependent on this primary caregiver. So anything that may show that their caregiver is leaving them or is rejecting them or is not giving them the love and attention they want is said to have a massive impact on how you view relationships in later on in life, such as adulthood. For example, do you know when a baby is okay and then their mum walks out the room and then the baby starts crying? That's because in the baby's mindset, they look at their mum and they're like, that's mummy. This is the person that feeds me, takes care of me, keeps me alive, keeps me warm, keeps me happy. Person walks out the room, oh no, this is gone, therefore I will not be able to eat, I will not be able to be comforted, I will not be able to keep warm, I will not be able to live. So, and that's why they cry and scream and shout and do all the things that babies do. They cry because they need that care. And in a child's mindset, it is so easy. Because now as an adult, if my mum would walk out the room, it'd be like, okay, she's probably gone to the toilet or something. But a baby doesn't think that, because your brain is not developed, and you know, as a baby, you're not taught that people need to leave the room sometimes. So it can literally be anything. It doesn't have to be this massive thing of, oh, you were neglected or you were abused by your primary caregiver. It could literally be anything. Of course, the 2, maybe 3 other examples I've chosen, those are quite common as well. And, you know, the same thing goes for abuse. It doesn't have to be always the biggest thing. It can be actually quite minimal. Well, minimal to society's eye, but to the victim's eye it seems like a big thing. So, in the case of BPD in adulthood, any sign that this person might be leaving you or rejecting you, and it doesn't even have to be the person saying, I'm leaving you. It could literally be them not replying to a text or having a different tone than usual, or just not fulfilling your needs or anything like that, you know, cancelling a plan. It could be anything, big or small, but if a person with BPD feels like they're being rejected or abandoned by this person, they will freak out. Exactly like how a baby freaks out when their primary caregiver leaves the room, because essentially with BPD, the whole theory behind it is that because of the distorted relationships and attachments in early childhood, as an adult you don't know how to cope with these things. Any sense of abandonment or rejection just subconsciously triggers your mind back to early childhood, where you had this attachment issue with your primary caregiver. So you think, this person's going to leave me, I need to do everything I can to keep them there. And for me with BPD, the fear of rejection and abandonment is strong. It's strong. It's really prominent, really there. It's pretty much there all the time, and you essentially push people away just so that they don't leave you. You're pushing, but you don't want them to be pushed away. It's very complicated. People with BPD can get really desperate for people not to leave them, because to people with BPD, people leaving means that they won't be able to live or cope. I know in my case, when I feel like people are rejecting me or leaving me, it's heartbreaking, and I genuinely feel in the moment that it's the end of the world. And I've been told so many times that I've been over dramatic or over exaggerating when I feel this way, but genuinely in that moment, because I've essentially thought this my whole life, it's just the way that my brain is. And in order to treat it, I essentially need to rewire my brain and teach myself that it's okay. And that, you know, if people leave, then they leave. It's not the end of the world. But right now, I don't believe that. I mean, I'm in a logical sense, so I can say, okay, you know, it's okay for people to leave me. But when it actually happens, it's like, whoa, this is not okay. My life is over. It's the end of the world. I'm not going to be able to cope. It's a bit rough, if I'm honest. This has turned into a BPD rant, let's be honest. Forget the attachment theory, this is the BPD rant. People with BPD feel things very intensely, which does not help with the feelings of rejection and abandonment, because they feel it so strong and they feel so heartbroken. They feel, when people leave or reject me, I feel upset, naturally. I feel angry, but I also feel scared, because I feel like I won't be able to live or function without that person. Essentially, this attachment in my heart or my mind, deep down, this attachment is seen as a primary caregiver. It's seen that this attachment can give me what I need, and if they're not there, then I won't be able to live. It's a very complicated situation, and it takes a lot to recover and heal from BPD. But yeah, I gotta do it, so I'm gonna do it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it kind of derailed towards the end. I guess, you know, there's only so much you can say about a theory, so sort of linking it with BPD kind of helped, but then I sort of ranted about it and now I'm just rambling. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was somewhat educational. If it wasn't, then I'm sorry. Please read Studies Online instead. I'm not the best person to be educational. I'm more of a personal experience kind of person, but I did want to try this out and talk about it, so I'm glad I did. So yeah, if you want live updates on my life, then you can follow Snapchat, my Snapchat, or you can follow my Instagram, Alison Sendo, and yeah, like, comment, subscribe, do what you want. Please take care of yourselves. Coronavirus is a thing, so I want you to all be eating properly, staying hydrated, getting proper sleep, doing the things that you enjoy, keeping in touch with friends and family. Just because you're in self-isolation doesn't mean you have to isolate completely and be alone. Contact your loved ones, please. Okay, that's enough from me. Bye now.